My name is Clint, and this is Yin Yoga. Welcome. Like always, we're going to start with 15 minutes of balance, and we'll start on the mat, and I may take you over to the wall if I don't talk too much. So come stand up for the balance part, which is about 15 minutes. So come into Tadasana. Tadasana, you put your feet about 2 fist widths apart, hip distance apart. And then stand up tall, isometrically drag your legs together so that you're engaging all the muscles of your legs. We all have blocks, right? So grab a block right now. I have 2 more blocks I can lend. Does anyone else? Okay. Now this block has interesting attributes. It knows how wide your hips are. So from using this block, the narrow direction, put it between your legs, way up, so high that you're going to have to take it home with you. And then notice where your feet are. Okay, that's about hip width apart. So from here, begin, okay, back to Tadasana. Lift your toes, spread the toes wide, and place them back down. From here, drawing your thighs together and your feet together, begin to rotate your thighs towards the middle so that you're trying to shoot the block out behind. And then tuck your tailbone under, tilting your pelvis back. That will engage the small of your back, that lower lumbar arch. Lift your chest high, and then the crown of your head, which is directly over the top of your spine. Lift that up and tuck your chin in just a little bit. Inhale your shoulders up towards your ears and to the back, and then just let them float on down. And just notice how your hands fall. Depending on your body, your hands may be close to your body or they could be pretty wide. Your palms could be flat on your hips or facing forward. It really doesn't matter. Your body is different than everyone else. Okay, so this is Tadasana, and I'm not going to be too funny. Just remove the block and set it aside. Come back to Tadasana, same thing, tilt your hip back. And from here, bring your weight into your right foot. I'm sorry, your left foot. It's funny watching all of you do it at the same time. Okay, from here, lift your right foot up just 1/2 an inch. And then bring that foot forward, like you're going to put your foot on the wall. This is your psoas doing the work, lifting that leg. Find a place on the floor that's not moving. And then from there, bring that foot out to the right with your toes going up. And if you fall out of this, that's okay. That's why we're here. That's why this is practice. And then bring that foot behind you. And now you're using your glutes to lift that leg behind you. And if you can afford to bring your right hand to your glutes, you can just feel how hard that glute has become when it's engaged. And then place your foot back down. Step that up. Back to Tadasana. Lift your toes again, spread them wide, and back down. Going into your right foot. Lift that left foot 1 inch. And then just bring that foot up like you're Charlie Brown, missing the football. And then bring that foot and that leg way out to the left with your toes up so that you're rotating your femur in your hip socket. What you're doing here is you're creating more connections in your brain. This is improving your neural plasticity, which helps your brain be able to create and maintain new information and new memories. By definition, balance is, now rotate that foot to the back. Balance is an asymmetric pose because you're only on one foot. If you're really good, one hand. Everybody's really paying attention. Push that heel away. Just notice the muscles that you're engaging here. We're going to be addressing them in some of the yin poses. And then step down. Step that out. Okay, find that block that you tossed away. Bring it back. I'm sorry to tell you. Put your foot to the left of it and bring your right foot up on top of that block. Spread your toe on your right toes wide. And if your foot's so big that you can grip it, more power to you. And then straighten out that right leg as you lift the left. And maybe bring that foot back out to the front. And notice the degree of difficulty increasing because it's a little less stable. This is far worse than doing it in the sand on a beach, though that's not easy either. But at some point, the sand stiffens up. Maybe you can bring that out to the side, maybe not. And down. If you weigh as much as me, you'll have to turn the block over, let it rebound. And then you want to bring your left foot on top of the block. Spread your toes wide, and then rise up. And when you're ready, lift that foot up and bring the sole of your foot towards the front of the room. Try to keep your spine straight. If you round your spine, it is so much more difficult. If your spine is straight, your body knows where your center of gravity is. And it's your fascia that's doing all these micro adjustments in your legs and in your arms because your brain doesn't even work this fast. This is strictly a mechanical response to sensations that your fascia is picking up from your muscles. Maybe bring that leg out to the right. And then release. Okay, we do have enough time. So anyway, come to a wall. Doesn't have to be, it can be right near you. But what I'm going to have you do, I will demonstrate this. But you want to get maybe a little bit farther than your fingers, standing in front, and then just lift up a foot and put the whole bottom, whole sole of your foot on the wall. You know, this chair rail is kind of a pain, but try to straighten that leg. If you can press your heel in, you can feel your hamstrings, the back of your legs. And again, with your spine tall, it's a little bit easier than doing this on your own. And then release, step that out. Come back to Tadasana. And then when you're ready, lift up the other foot. You can use your hand to help you fine-tune the placement of your foot. Try to keep your hips square to the front. That may mean that you have to push your right hip in and draw your left hip back a little bit. But if you're coming away from the wall, just come down and come an inch or two forward. But notice these muscles that you're working on here. And then release. Okay, you can go back to the mat. Maybe make some hula hoops with your hips. Okay, and then I'll meet you on the mat. Your favorite seated position. Now just cross your legs however you wish. This block also has other magical traits. Notice how high your knees are here. What you're trying to do is to become as comfortable with your knees below your hip points. And you do that by tilting your hips forward, and this block will work if you place it underneath your sit bones. Just at the very, very front edge of the block, and interestingly, the knees drop. You might not drop very far, but possibly you can even get your toenails down onto the mat. And what that means is that you're getting more rotation in your femurs. But from here, place your hands any place that's comfortable. Lift your spine up towards the ceiling. The crown of your head up. Tuck your chin in just a little bit. Close your eyes. Then take one hand on your heart and the other on your belly. Take a cleansing breath in through your nose. And exhale out through your nose. And another deep breath in through your nose. Out through your nose. And let your breath come to its own natural rhythm, in and out through your nose. With your hands, maybe you can feel your heart beating. You can feel the air coming into your lungs, inflating, pushing some of your organs aside so your belly rises. And as you exhale, your diaphragm comes in, releasing that air. And just observe what's happening here. Maybe breathe into your rib cage. Maybe you can sense your ribs expanding, maybe even separating a little bit. Feel free to just bring your hands to your rib cage so that you can feel it. Observe your body throughout today's class. Don't try to intervene, just observe. There's no reason to try to do anything more or less. If your brain engages, just deepen your breath. Let the thoughts your mind has conjured up just dissipate and begin again. The whole object during the Yin class is to be able to stretch into a pose and have your muscles soften while still maintaining your body position. Then the tension can flow from your muscles into your fascia, stimulating growth in your fascia to give you more space inside your own body. On your next inhale, open up your eyes. From here, the next pose is going to be banana. So if you have a block that you've been using underneath your hips, remove it. Straighten your legs out to the front of the mat. Bring your hands behind your hips. You come down onto the mat. Raise your hands up towards the ceiling. And then rotate them down towards the wall beyond your head. And stretch from your heels to your palms. Notice what muscles are being stretched here. And then stretch from your toes to your fingers. And then just rest your arms down on the mat. Now, if you have an arm that doesn't want to come all the way down to the mat, use a block. For banana, the only rule is that your hips cannot move. They are super glued to your mat. So from here, you can scooch your shoulders and your head off to the left. You don't have to go real far. You may want to grab onto that right wrist with your left hand and just push that wrist away, lengthening that arm. And then, again, leaving your hips exactly where they are, walk your feet to the left side of your mat until you get a bit of a stretch in your right side body. Now you don't want that right hip to come off of the mat. So urge the right hip down and soften. Breathe into your right side body and use your breath to help get into this pose, maybe a little bit deeper, maybe just to soften. Your eyes can be opened or closed, but if they're open, the ceiling grid should no longer be in line with your body. If you'd like to intensify this, lift your right foot up a couple of inches and then rest that straight right leg over the top of your left ankle. And notice the extra stretch, just a few inches does. Breathe into your belly, using your diaphragm to allow your organs to adjust to this compressed version. Soften your right armpit. Soften your jaw. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next exhale, uncross your legs and walk your feet back to the center of the mat. Then scooch your head and shoulders to the center of your mat. And use both hands working together to return to the front side of your body. Sometimes the stretch is too intense for one arm to work completely well by itself. When your hands are next to your hips, bend your knees and walk your footprints up towards your sit bones. Then draw your knees into your chest. Give yourself a squeeze. Push your hips towards the front of the room. And rock from left to right, massaging your spine. And the next time you come to center pause, this next pose is going to be spinal twist. So bring your arms out into T. From here, with your knees still up towards your chest, gently bring your knees to the left, all the way down to the mat. If your right shoulder comes up, that's okay. Now your right hand can be on top of, your left hand can be on top of your right knee. Now you have lots of options here. One that I was playing around with last week was bringing both legs all the way out to the side. Maybe that feels good for you. Maybe not. You can always bend your knees again, maybe push them towards the front of or the bottom of your mat. And what that will do is that will move the twist down into your lumbar spine. You can always just straighten out that right leg and get an IT band stretch. Your gaze can be off towards your right hand. And if there's not enough space for your head, just move your head and edge yourself to the right. And if your neck doesn't want to turn that far, don't turn it. You don't want to stress the muscles of your neck. Those are the littlest kids on the block, and you don't want to pick them. Soften your lower belly here. You should be feeling this pose in your obliques. Those are the muscles between your right ribs, your lower right ribs down to the top of your pelvis. You should be feeling this in your rectus abdominis, those muscles that go from your sternum all the way down to your pubic bone. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, bring your knees back to center. Draw your knees into your chest, give yourself a squeeze. Either rock from left to right, or maybe make some circles on the ceiling with your knees. And the next time you come to center, pause. The next pose, we're going to start from table. So to get there, you can just cross your ankles and rock forwards and backwards. You come all the way up, or you can come over onto your side. And then onto your favorite hip. And do a few cat-cows here. Now for table, your knees are directly below your hips. Your hands are directly below your shoulders. You inhale, your belly drops, your chest comes forward, your sit bones lift and separate. And then exhale, round your spine, tuck your tailbone under, and last, your chin comes towards your chest. And the next time you come to center, pause. From here, lift your right foot up and step that footprint on the back wall. Really push that heel away. Make sure your hips are square to the front of your mat. And then on an exhale, bring that right foot up next to your right pinky finger. You can move that left foot back an inch or so. Coming into dragon. And dragon, you have lots of options here. Targets for dragon are your psoas muscles in particular. Right now, that's the muscle here, the hip flexor on the left is being extended maximum. And it's being flexed to the most on your right hip. You can overstep your right knee over your right toes if you wish. That will stretch your calf muscles. And if you do a lot of walking, that's a really good thing to do. Right now, everybody is here in not baby dragon, but high flying dragon with your hands on the mat. And in another minute or so, you'll have an option to go to the part of the pose that I really, really, really hate. Yeah. If we had a vote on what not to do, it would be this. But you always need to do what you hate the most. So for low flying dragon, you can keep your palms on the mat. You can drop to your elbows. You can move that right foot out to the side if you want, or just come up onto the pinky toe side and just let that knee fall out. That would be winged dragon. Or if you want to be adventurous in the moment, you can do a wandering dragon, which would be walk your hands off to the left side of your mat a little bit and maybe come down. And if your knee has dropped out to the side, or if you're doing wandering dragon like I am, you're stretching your iliacus, which is your other hip flexor. The hip flexor that is attached to the inside rim of your pelvic bowl. And you're still stretching that left psoas. The left leg should have the toenails down. I love saying this. If the pose becomes too easy for you, you can always move to intensify it. Likewise, you can always back up. For the first 10 years I was doing this pose, I never came close to finishing the 5-minute hold. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, bring your palms back to the mat. Straighten your arms, lifting your chest up. Walk your hands back until you can release that right leg. Back to meet the left. Into table, you can do some cat-cows here. can make big circles with your hips in table, or you can curl your toes under and lift your hips up and back into down dog. Walk out your dog, or straighten your legs. Do what your body wants you to do. And then gently bring your knees back down. Couple more quick cat cows. And the next time you come to center pause. From here, we're going to do a Yin pose. It's a pose that is more muscle and core building. And it's called Spinal Balance. So for here, lift your right leg up and back again. Push that heel against the wall. And make sure that your hip isn't lifted up. Your gaze should be right down on the mat between your hands. And then reach out and karate chop the mat with your left hand. Then draw your left arm into the shoulder socket. And then lift it up like you're shaking hands with Bob Dole. So you're reaching, some people call this bird dog. And this is probably the best pose for core strength that there is. And I don't have to tell you why. Then on your next exhale, bring your knee to your elbow and inhale all the way back out. And then exhale, knee to elbow, crunch, inhale back out. Another, inhale back out, and pause here for just a moment. And this is my favorite pose, awkward airplane. So from this pose, you want to keep your hand high, you want to keep your leg high, left arm goes off to the left, right leg goes off to the right. If you need to ask why it's called awkward airplane, inhale back to center. Exhale, extend out. Inhale back to center. Exhale back out. And drop your right foot down. And bring your left hand next to the right. Your right toes should be facing the front of the mat. Then just walk your hands back and rise up into gate pose. Your right leg is straight. This is a groin stretch. So from here, lift your left arm up, your right arm's down on your leg, right leg. And then on an exhale, side bend to the right. Maybe you can look at the eye of your elbow. If you have a tendency to come forward, maybe bring that right arm behind your back so that your shoulders can stay parallel to the front of the mat. And 5, inhale, back up. Bring your hands back to the mat. Bring your knees back together, cat cow. This might be a nice time for a child's pose. So spread your knees wide, bring your big toes together, and bring your hips back on top of your heels. Walk your hands forward, bringing your chest and your head down towards the mat. You can always use a block to support your head. This is a spine lengthener. Soften your lower belly. And as you breathe, let your belly fall. Soften your shoulder blades. If you're still pushing your arms forward, just bend your elbows enough so that there's no tension in your arms or your shoulders at all. Soften your glutes and your inner thighs. Soften your pelvic floor. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, walk your hands back. And into table again. And immediately begin to walk your knees back and your arms forward and come all the way down onto your belly and onto your elbows so that your elbows are directly below your shoulders. So lift up your chest. Lift up your chest. Your gaze should be between your hands. Your fingers are flat on the mat and out in front. This is Sphynx Pose. Now, the way I was taught, your knees and your feet had to be perfectly together. You don't have to.
Together, I mean, touching.
Yeah, I don't know how many times I got kicked by my instructors. Well, nudged, but with feet. But I've learned that your body is different. Your legs want to be in a different location than what the book says. So do what's right for you. But bring your toenails down onto the mat. Lift your chest high. And then not isometrically, push your toenails down, lifting up your knees. You're engaging your quads here. Isometrically draw your elbows down towards your hips. That will lengthen your spine. Try lowering your shoulder blades away from your ears. Your gaze is still down at your mat. And then just begin to soften those muscles that you were just tightening. Behind your knees, soften your thighs, your glutes, your lower back. Feel your belly pressing against the mat, being drawn down by gravity. And then when everything else is softened, allow your head just to bow forward. And then make little circles on the floor with your nose, just to make sure that you don't have any tension hiding in those little muscles of your neck. Then on your next exhale, release, cross your arms using your forearms as a pillow, and one knee or the other, bring it up towards an elbow. And feel the change in your spine here. Your spine is no longer in a back bend. This counter pose allows your spine to bounce back to normal. On your next inhale, bring your leg back to meet the other out behind you. Bring your hands next to your chest. On an inhale, push the floor away, rise back up into table. Do a couple more cat cows. And the next time you come to center pause. From here, lift your left foot up and back, step on that back wall, push that heel away. You don't have to guess which we're going to do first. Take your right arm, straighten it out, karate chop the mat way out in front, opening up that armpit, and then draw that arm back into your shoulder socket and lift it up into spinal balance. Feel your core here. You're using your hips, your shoulders, all the muscles of your core on both the front of your body and the back. And then on your next exhale, bring your right elbow to your left knee, crunch. And inhale back out. Exhale, crunch. Inhale back out. Exhale, crunch. Inhale back out. And pause here for a moment. Getting ready for my favorite pose. And then on an exhale, awkward airplane. Left foot way out to the left, right arm way out to the right. Inhale back. Exhale out. Inhale back. Exhale out. Drop that left foot. Bring your right hand down to the mat. Walk your hands back and up into gate pose. Bring your hands to your hips. And then raise that right arm up towards the ceiling. Left arm on your left leg. And then on an exhale, let that left hand just meander down the leg. Try not to come forward because that would be a twist. You want a side bend here. This is the sister pose to banana. But with that left leg out, really changes the dynamics. You got to be able to really feel this in your obliques here. And on your next inhale, come back up. Put your hands back down on the mat. And do a couple more cat cows. This almost makes you want to do dragon.
Yeah.
At least your muscles are not going to be working. From here, if the next time you're at center, pause, lift your left foot up and back, step on the back wall, push that heel away, really feel your hamstring. And on an exhale, bring that foot on the left side of your pinky. And move your right knee back an inch or so. Doesn't have to be much to get a good sensation. You learn what your body needs, and then do what your body needs. Again, you have all those same options. You can come up onto your knee with your hands. This is baby dragon. But what you're trying to do is drop your hips down towards the mat. The more you can drop your hips, the more you can stretch your hip flexors. And you can fine tune this so that you get just the amount of tension that you need in order to soften those muscles. Again, you can go farther. You can go into a modification that gets the sensation exactly where you want. And if you'd like to come into a low flying dragon, you certainly can. With the winged dragon, twisted dragon, one of the guys I hike with who does this class often calls this crazy dragon. He said the reason is anyone who does the pose is crazy. But I guarantee your hips will feel better. Notice where the sensations have migrated. Begin to deepen your breath. Push the floor away with your hands and walk your hands back towards your right knee. When you can free up the left, do so. Come back into table with your circles, or lift one leg and then the other, or you can go into downward facing dog. And if you have tight hamstrings, you can always widen up your dog. Bring your feet out to the outer edges of the mat. And see what difference that makes. And then gently return your knees down to the mat. Walk your hands and knees off to one side of the mat. Bring your hip down. And then swing your legs around in front. From here, just bring your hands behind your hips. Push your heels away and rotate your feet to your hip sides. And then come down onto your elbows. All the way down onto your back. Raise your hands up towards the ceiling. And then rotate them down towards the wall beyond your head. And stretch your palms away from your heels. And then your toenails away from your fingernails. Maybe spread your fingers and your toes wide and wiggle them. And then just pause here. Letting your arms come down onto the floor, onto the mat. Next pose is banana on the right side. So from here, your hips still can't move. So identify what bones are attached, and then scooch your head and shoulders off to the right. And when you've come the right distance for you, pause. And then walk your feet over to the right with straight legs. And then just pause there. Maybe grab onto your left wrist with your right hand and just push that wrist along. You don't have to pull it to the side. You can feel that shoulder, your armpit opening up. Maybe breathe diaphragmatically to allow your organs to adjust a little bit more easily. If you'd like to intensify this, lift your left foot up a couple of inches and take it across the right ankle and let it down. And notice the sensations. If you're not getting as much as you'd like, you can always make adjustments. Only you know what's going on inside your body. Maybe you want to take a hand and just run it over your abs and your obliques, between your pelvis and your rib cage. See how relaxed those muscles are. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next exhale, uncross your legs, walk your feet back to center. Bring your shoulders and head back to center. Bring your arms to the front of your body. When you're ready, walk your footprints up towards your sit bones. And draw one leg, one knee into your chest and give yourself a squeeze. Add the other knee. Push your pelvis away towards the front of the mat. Do that by tucking your tailbone under so that only your spine is on the mat, just for a brief instant, and rock from left to right. And then bring your arms out into T. And this is spinal twist, not spinal balance, thank heavens. And carefully lower your knees to the right, easing off towards the left, if that's in your practice. And again, you have all the same options that you had on the other side. Maybe you have more stress on this side. Notice how your back feels. Maybe you want to bring both legs out to the side. Maybe one. Maybe move your knees towards the front of the mat. Or maybe you just want me to shut up and let you find the best pose for you. Breathe into those sensations. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, Bring your knees back to center. Give yourself a squeeze. Make some circles with your knees on the ceiling. And the next time you come to center, pause. The next pose is Shavasana. And I forgot to tell you how to get into a Psoas release. But if you wish to see how to do that, you can take your blocks, 2 blocks together, either the tall direction or the middle. And these will ultimately go underneath your knees. You can put a towel over them to soften. But what you want to be able to do is to support your knees. I'll move so you can see the other side. Essentially, what you're doing is you make a bolster out of your blocks. And what this does, with your body position like this, your psoas can release. That means that it is under no tension, either in extension or flexion. And that is the only position it can be for it to release. This is the way I go to sleep every night. Take a deep cleansing breath into your nose. And exhale it out through your nose. And another into your nose. Out through your nose. And take rest. Begin to deepen your breath. Bring your awareness back into your space. Bring movement to your fingers and to your toes, to your wrists, and to your ankles. Gently roll your head from left to right. And when you're ready, remove your blocks. Walk your feet to your sit bones. Bring your knees into your chest. Give yourself a squeeze. And either rock from left to right or make circles on the ceiling with your knees. And the next time you come back towards your right side, pause there for just a moment in fetal pose, using your right arm as a pillow. And do a quick scan of your body to detect any tension or stress that may still be lurking in your tissues. And then, using the strength in your left hand, push the floor away. Rise up to a seated position. Thank you for sharing your practice with me this afternoon. Thank you for taking such good care of your body and your breath and your mind through the practice of yoga. Take the compassion and empathy that you practice everywhere you go and share it with everyone you may meet. Namaste. My name is Clint, and this has been Yin Yoga. Thanks for coming.